This video is brought to you by PrizePicks. All right, let's talk about Taylen Green, the 6'6", 235-pound quarterback who runs a 4.3, has explosive measurables. I've been talking about this, but here is his mock draftable. I'm going to try to make sure that I insert that into this cut. But his mock draftable is insane, right? Like, it's literally a complete circle. Like, Myles Garrett athletic level stuff here for Taylen Green. The big issue with Taylen is for as athletic as he's been, for as big as he's been, you don't really see that come up in his tape as much as you would want. You would think somebody who's 6'6", 237 should be a man amongst boys at the college level, especially at Boise State, especially against some of these other schools. Like, you would expect more domination from somebody who has that much of a physical advantage there. I think there's some explanations for that. Some of it is about Taylen Green himself. Some of it is about coaches maybe trying to prioritize the development of Taylen Green versus the effectiveness of him as a football player. I do wonder how much is there when it comes to him playing the quarterback position in a traditional fashion. I do think if you're willing to think outside the box, there might be a vision available for Taylen, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done, even if you wanted to go through the the non-traditional route, right? All that being said, we're going to talk about Taylen Green, but before I do that, I have to thank my sponsor, PrizePicks. Hey, let me talk to you about my sponsor for this year, PrizePicks. It's a fun way to win cash while you're watching your favorite teams. Forget complex betting rules. Their app is designed to be incredibly easy to use. Just pick more or less on a few player stats and lock in your lineup. Speaking of, here are my picks for this upcoming NFL season. They have Myles Garrett at 14 sacks here. I think he will get more than 14 sacks. Joe Burrow at 3,875 passing yards. I think he'll be a 4,000-yard passer. I'm going to go with more. They have Derrick Henry at 1,224 yards. I'm going to go less than that. Check to see if PrizePicks is available in your state. You can follow me on the app at KWEN_C to see all of my lineups. Download the PrizePicks app today. Play $5 and get $50 in lineups when you download the app using the link in the description. All right, let's look at Taylen Green here. Going to be an interesting breakdown, right? Because I do think that there are things that Taylen Green does do well at the quarterback position. My big wonder with him is, like, how do we string all of this together to make a functional quarterback? Because there's a lot of issues, but there's some things that are intriguing here, right? But let's look into it. First, we're going to look at some of his Senior Bowl stuff. Then we're going to go through a few of his games at Arkansas. So Senior Bowl stuff was interesting, right? Because you would hope his mechanics have gotten improved by the time we got to the Senior Bowl. He spent some time working on it because his mechanics certainly do need work. Now, one area where you're not going to have any questions about Taylen Green is his ability off read option run. Right here, with the length that he has 36-inch arms, so he can get super deep into a read. And what they're trying to do, right, when you're doing a read option, usually, and this can change obviously with every play, but usually you're reading him. That is known as the MOOL. I'm writing with my mouse, so apologize for the crudeness of that drawing. The EMOL, the EMOL, the end man on the line of scrimmage. So he's reading him. The reason the long arms help is because the deeper this running back gets into that gap as he's working the handoff, the more that end man has to kind of declare his position. So what these end men do usually is they kind of slow play it. And they kind of just like take up space so that they're in a position to where they can attack the gap or they can contain the edge, right? But the longer you have, the deeper you have in there, the more committed they have to be. Now, this is a situation where this edge completely just said fuck it and shot the gap, right? So pretty easy read here for Taylen. And then when he gets that outside on you, good luck trying to catch him, right? He going to be gone. He going to be gone. He fast, boy. He fast. Let's continue. There's a pass play during team drills here. He probably would have been sacked in a real game here. But let's look at what's going on here. Could he have gotten rid of this ball before that sack is there? Yeah. So right here, they have two guys going seams, right? So seam and seam. You see one linebacker crash in. Another one's flat-footed. Right here, that ball should be out. He's looking right at it. That ball should be out to this tight end. This happens with Taylen Green in his tape. And this is what makes me concerned about his ability to play quarterback traditionally, right? There are a lot of times where he is just looking at somebody wide open and the ball doesn't get there. I think this is because he has a hard time handling 22 players being on it, with 21 players being on the field, right? Steve Young talks about this. Some guys are overwhelmed by that. Some guys can see clearly through that. I don't think he can see clearly through it. And I think that there'll be plentiful evidence here as we go through his tape, right? Right here, I mean, this is a clear read, what you want, because if you're reading this half of the field, you're looking at these linebackers, right? And the second you get both of them to go in, and then this, you have this route here. And look, I know it's a Senior Bowl, it's practice, so it's possible that, he's just trying to get used to everything. But also, this is a pretty basic concept, right? Like, this is just what, 4 vert? Yeah, it's just 4 vert. So it's like, you don't really need that much chemistry to run this effectively, right? Like, just get there, boom, get that ball off right there. That should be the read. And if I did, also the other issue, reason I'm not going to give him real slack on this kind of stuff here is because it's all over his tape in Arkansas. But let's continue. Yeah. And I'm going to ignore this check down he threw here because he would have clearly been sacked here. Like, in a real game, he's out here. He has a chance to make that throw in a game. He does not have a chance to do that. That's not going to happen. All right. Another team drill here against the Senior Bowl. Real question of like if he would have been able to get out here. I think this would be counted as a sack for practice purposes because that's a pretty clean angle that D tackle gets here. Again, the question is there somewhere he could have got rid of the ball before running out here? Now, I am going to be lenient that he didn't find his check down. Like, the basic concept stuff, I do think you should be able to kind of read that, day 1 or 2 off book here. But, like, getting back to a check down, like, that takes time, right? Like, working back 1, 2, 3, and then finding your check down or not, that's not going to happen day 1 of practice. So, not going to really be upset there. Wonder what he was looking at. Okay, so I think he's trying to hit right here. So they have a 9 running through the seam, and then they have an N right here. I think he's trying to hit this N, and the pressure kind of kills that for him. Also, this linebacker keeps good depth. All right. A little play action here. Step up. Oh, this was a crazy one. Just YOLOs that shit. You gotta respect it, man. Look at this. Oh, it's not even a throw anymore. I'll just go back to the first angle. But look at this, man. Gets back there. Now, look, I would believe that this is the wrong read, but he's right. So I'm not going to be upset. Like, it's technically you want him to hit this. That is more than likely what they were telling him to hit. But he held on to this long, and he ended up being right because that safety just got a little worried about this underneath here. And then he just yams this thing. Like, look, the people have to move off the field. They didn't expect this one to go that far. He just yams this thing here. And it gets there. The big thing, though, is like, look at his feet. Like, really look at his feet when he's throwing this. It's kind of crazy. Like, look how he throws this ball. That's a wild get off there. It's like off the one back leg. I think he talked about this at the Senior Bowl, to be fair. But he talked about like working on making sure that his hands and his feet are connected when he throws the football. And it was less egregious at the Senior Bowl than it was in his tape. This is wild, though. He threw that shit like a Frisbee. Just one. There's no hip rotation in there. It's nuts. That's nuts. That's nuts. All right, let's go back. Make sure I got this in the right way. There it is. Oh, yeah, he's not an accurate thrower, by the way. We didn't get to really see that in some of these opening clips, but you're going to see that at Arkansas. He's not a real accurate thrower. And part of it is because his feet are just awful at times. Like, he's stiff as hell. As good as an athlete as he is, he's super stiff. It kind of reminds me of Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick, RG3. Like, both those guys, RG3 less so, but Colin Kaepernick more so. Both those guys were stiff as hell. Like, fast guys. You get them in open space, they're fast, but not really left-right movers. Straight line guys, right? I think physically he's more of a Colin Kaepernick because he has the long arms, he has the long stride, right? He's kind of more similar to that, but he does hit a 4.37, which I don't think Cap hit. I think Cap was like a 4.5 guy. But another thing that's similar to Kaepernick is, remember, Kaepernick just threw bullets all the time, right? He had no touch. He's real stiff, so he only has a fastball he can really get off here, right? And you see how that fastball is just too low to layer that over that linebacker, and it turns into an interception. All right, let's watch him play at Arkansas. So we're going backwards in time here. This is against Alabama A&M, I believe. So, we're going to see him in perfect conditions where he's capable of, right? First thing I'm going to point out here. 1, that's a pretty good throw. 2, that base is completely dog shit. Look at the base here. I hope I have the reverse angle of this. I do not. I did not have the foresight, but that base was dog shit right there. So he really needs to work on his feet, right? Gets to the top of his hitch. Let me zoom in for y'all so we're not missing out here. But yeah, you see that base right there? Like, there's no reason he should be throwing with that base. He is safe. But you see how he just kind of like, I don't know what it is, but he did that. That is just like that throw he had at the Senior Bowl. It's like, hey, man, it goes. And he has enough natural arm talent to just whip it. But why would you ever throw it like this when you don't have to? Like, look, the legs all kicked back. It's so strange. Like, it's like he caught it. You know what it looks like when you're a baseball player, you catch something like hop skips, you catch it in midair, you got to throw it to turn a double play. It looks like he's trying to turn 2 right now. I don't understand why he does that. Right there. But good throw, right? He's got to get that cleaned up at the NFL level. I do think, though, when you make things simple and he does have his feet underneath him, he's more accurate than maybe you would. Like, if there's a world where he can fix and be 95% consistent with his mechanics, right? Then I think he's capable of being more accurate, because like when he does have good feet here, like that's a good throw. It's an accurate enough throw, right? Like that's another one where he has decent feet, still kind of leaves that leg kind of shallow, but it drives through. It's not terrible. Foot, not really where you want it to be, because he's not driving that ball. He's not driving his foot towards where it is, but like, fine, right? There's a little bit of a margin of error there for him. But man, like sometimes like his feet just like you see right there, his worst throws are when he does not engage his base. So let's go back to those other two throws and see how his hips rotate with those throws. Like just simply rotate. Look, rotation, boom, accurate throw, right? Here, drop back, foot, hip rotation right there. You see the hip rotation? All right, now watch this throw. Look at his hips while he throws this. No rotation. Where that ball go? Anywhere. Here's another thing with Taylen Green, right? That concerns me. He's a big quarterback, but he does not play like a big quarterback. He plays like he's not 6'6", 237. What I mean by this is, look at the lack of pressure that was created by Alabama A&M that was enough for him to alter his throwing motion, right? Like that's all it took right there was him feeling a little bit of pressure, and he completely altered his throwing motion. He has a lot of work to do before you can really get to the point to where you could jerry-rig him into a functional quarterback. Like I do think you got to gimmick it a lot, but I think you can make it happen. But this is the stuff that needs to be corrected, because this is just not enough pressure to justify you releasing that like that. Okay, so one, we're going to look at the athletic ability here. Like, fantastic, right? Just completely outruns this defense, right? Just, they get him around the corner. They have a blitzer coming off free. He runs away from it. It's great. Awesome. He's a good athlete for sure. What I want him to do, though, right, is you're not going to do that in the NFL where you get to run around a defense. So like that can't be an answer. What can be an answer is this. Hey, look, I sense that pressure. Okay, so those linebackers pressure, so I know I have a void here. Let's make the quick throw to this hook I have over here, right? That's how you beat pressure. That's how you beat blitzes. That's how you stop teams from blitzing you. But if you react like this to a blitz, in the NFL, you're not going to get 12 yards. You're probably going to get grabbed. So it's nice that he feels this pressure. He's very sensitive to pressure, but turn that sensitivity into a strength, right? If you feel the pressure right here, then you should know, okay, if I'm feeling pressure on my backside here, they sent a DB, I have that open, instead of just running away from it. Because if you do that 2 or 3 times when they blitz you, they'll stop blitzing you the rest of the game, right? If you just consistently beat them like that, they'll stop blitzing. It's not going to be worth it to them. This is the future for Taylen Green here, right? RPO. I think the big case for Taylen Green is like, hey, how far can we take RPO? I think, again, probably a year or two of work before you even get to the point to where you want to try it. And all realistic, like if I'm being realistic about the outcome here with Taylen Green, I think that the Browns are going to do a lot of work that maybe another team benefits from, right? I talked about this with Jalen Milroe last year. where I'm like, hey, Jalen Milroe is the kind of player that I would love to keep tabs on after he's drafted, but don't want to draft him because I don't think the team that drafts him is going to have success with him. I think the team that signs him second or third could have success with him, right? I've made the same argument that might be the case for Shedeur Sanders, where like maybe the first team that gets him doesn't really have success with him, but 2 or 3 teams down the road, he's ready to have success. Taylen Green, I feel like the team that drafts him, Cleveland, probably not going to have that much success with him, right? But maybe, he goes somewhere that's more willing to commit to that RPO style that has some success with him when he's ready to have success, because I don't think he's close to ready to have success right now. But this is what it would look like, right? RPO stuff, throwing off of it, running off of it. This is where he's at his best, where you just make it simple. You don't allow for his feet to get to a bad place. He can't really process the whole field, in my opinion. But if you just condense the game into like manageable chunks, he can do that eventually. Yeah, oh my God. What happened here? He just overthought that one. He just lasers that one behind him. He makes really strange decisions sometimes, man. Like he gets here. Like this play is going so slow. And he just kind of rushes this. Like he for a guy that big, he's really afraid of pressure. Well, now I want to say afraid, but he's really sensitive to pressure. Like he's not Josh Allen where he's just going to stand in there and take a hit. He's not a tank at all. That's not what he is. It's a good throw here. I think this gets called back. This is a solid throw. Nice little rope he throws here for a touchdown. Yeah, it's a rope. It's a rope. Again, when things are right, they look great. And this is one where he doesn't get too spooked by the pressure, right? Kind of just stands in there and then delivers a rocket. There's potential there for Taylen Green. I'll say that. Empty here. His feet are already kind of like erratic here. Let's look. I think he missed something on this play. Let's see. Ball snapped. He has the flat. Here he also has a little bit of a dig here on the left side. I'm assuming he was looking for I'm assuming he's looking for either this or this, given where his eyes are. He also has here and then here. So this is an angle that he could hit if he hit it on time, right? Like right here, that ball comes out. I think there's a play that could be made here. And in here, he certainly has that tight end. Also, he can line that in here. Kind of just looks at all of it, holds it too long, runs. I just think he gets overwhelmed with 21 on the field. I really do. I don't think he's ever going to be a full field read guy. I don't think he's ever going to be a 1, 2, 3, 4 progression guy. I think he's somebody you want to limit to about 2 progressions and then let him be an athlete, right? And let that drive your offense, because he's just, once the game gets complicated for him, he doesn't make decisions quickly. But hey, man, when he runs, though, dog, he's pretty good. He is an athlete, boy. Let me tell you, it's pretty nice to see. I think he's playing Mississippi State now. But He gets out there. I'm so interested to see what the plan is for him and what Todd does, because he's a 6th-round pick, so I would assume there isn't going to be that much of a plan. But he's somebody that's not going to work unless you really design something to make it work. Because he is limited in what he can do as a passer as far as like the throws he has access to. And when I say throws, I mean like his accuracy and his ability to put touch on the football just aren't that great. And his ability to read the field, I think, is limited as well. But he gets out there. That's a great throw right here. Like, I don't know if this is on time, but man, ooh, it's a rope. That is an absolute rope right there. And turn him into somebody completely different. He's always going to be some version of this, but you want to get the best version of that, right? Look at his feet here. You just want these feet to be consistently good like that, and then he's able to make throws like that can open up the defense a little bit, right? There's just enough there that I think you can put it all together, and you can, cook up an offense that can add once defenses adjust. Don't know, but I think you can get that to a point to where you can have some good years out of him, because the athletic talent is just so high, and he has like what he lacks in his ability to read defenses or to really process the whole field. He has in just the ability to just force a ball into an angle, right? So if you could get that to a strong enough place where it's like, hey, he doesn't have to be the most cerebral quarterback in the world, because he could just force these balls into angles, then you might be able to make something work here, right? And again, that RPO ability that he has. He's reading the A-Maul, right? He's reading the end man on the line of scrimmage. So that's 23 here from Mississippi State. And then look how deep he's allowed to just get into this pool here. And look what that does to the emo, right? He kind of has to freeze because of it, because he gets so deep there, right? He has to kind of like, okay, I guess I'm committing to the run here. And then by the time that happens, he's cooked, right? He's absolutely cooked. And that is 100% because he has those long arms. And that running back basically can get into the, like, before that exchange is over, he's basically in that gap. Layered throw from Taylen. Again, I think his access to certain throws is always going to be limited because he's a one-pitch thrower, right? Like, you know how some guys in baseball, they have 4 pitches to go to. But he really has a fastball. He's going to throw 80% fastballs here. But this is nice to see. So limited on what he can access. This is insane. Right, because these are linebackers that he's outrunning here at this point, right? Just like easily outrunning that linebacker. Yeah. There's something there athletically, though. It's why I'm like so weirded out by his pocket habits, because it's like you're not afraid to get hit. You just like are just really sensitive to pressure. Again, RPO stuff, right? Those long arms, look how long he can get. Boom. Basically gets to the point. This is his future. RPO, pass, run stuff. This is his future. How far can you take this in the NFL is a big question, right? But this is his future right here. Use those long arms. Let those long arms make decisions for you, right? And then have him react off instinct. And I think you have something. Like, honest to God, like, this is a Greg Roman dream right here. Some of these times where he just, when he really wants to put something into a football, he just does the weirdest stuff here. I mean, it's like a 360 spin. I don't know where that momentum is carrying that ball. He almost plays, like, again, he's 6'6", 237. He almost plays like somebody who's 200 pounds, 6 foot sometimes. Like, This is body stuff that you would expect to see from somebody much smaller than him. Big guy, you think could just stand up tall and just throw that thing with the stable base. Like it's almost like when you see these centers in the NBA that grew up playing point guard, like Anthony. He must have got a growing spurt late or something like that because he does a lot of stuff that you would expect smaller quarterbacks to do. That's a good throw, though. It's a really nice throw. Again, that RPO ability, they're going to use that in some aspect. Look at deep in there, the M-man commits. Even when the end, it should be a penalty too. Is this Texas Tech now? Or is this still Mississippi State? Boy, he be having some inaccurate passes, man. What happened here? Again, look at that base. You see what I mean? What is that? Here, back foot, and then he Gilbert Arenas legs this one. Like, I don't get that. Like, that leg is kicking. He looked like he punted that ball. And there was no pressure. He just wanted to launch it. It's really when he decides he's going to launch it is when the weirdest shit mechanically pops up with him. Like when he's like, I got to launch this one. He does the strangest shit. All right, this is another one of like, hey, I don't know how well this guy can read the field, right? This is a 4th and 1 here. Gotta have it situation versus Texas A&M, one of the top teams in the country. Now, they run play action. You run play action on 4th and 1, what does that mean? The ball has to get out quick. There's probably not that much much here for him to read here. So it's a rollout here. What they're running is they're trying to get 88 the ball real quick, right? They're hoping that this safety probably gets deeper in here, but they got enough. And watch how Taylen just looks at this. He just looks at it. Like right here, this is enough to throw the ball here. Just give him a nice little pop. Let him run underneath it. He's cooked. He's even with the safety, and the safety's feet are flat and coming downhill, right? You got him. Why are we looking at this? There's no other explanation than like he just didn't see it. And I don't know how you go from not seeing that to like being a full field, 4 progression guy in the NFL. I don't think that's ever going to happen. Like that's too much of a leap to expect, in my humble opinion. Got some more clips here. But boy, can he run that ball. Look at that. The quick twitch out. I mean, he almost gets again, quick reads. You just tell him, hey, if you see this, then do this. He could do that, right? You see 9, and his hips are something work here, but it can't be. It can't ask him to read the field, right, and play traditional quarterback. He has to. This guy's just so fast. It looks crazy because it doesn't look like he's moving that fast. To the pylon. Beat the whole Texas A&M defense to the pylon. I appreciate the effort Arkansas made to develop him as a passer. If I'm in the NFL, I would say we're not going to really commit to that. At the NFL level, you know, he's not going to be a full field progression guy. But what I will do is put him in a position to be an athlete more often than they did at Arkansas. His best stuff is when he's out there being an athlete, right? This is where his best stuff comes from. Drop back here. He gets flushed out. And a nice, pretty throw here to this line. Right? Like, good athlete. And then he can, this is what I mean, where it's like, hey, he doesn't have to be right about what he's reading. He just has to be strong about the decision and decisive about it. Because, this is pretty tight window, but he just forces it there. He beats the defender with the ball. And you can draw up stuff like that for him. He has to get to a place where he's more consistent with his feet for you to trust this kind of stuff with him. And he's certainly not there yet. Well, I think this is like a 2-3 year dangerous dude. That's a dangerous dude, right? Taylen Green, some good, some bad. A lot of things you have questions about. My feelings about this pick when they made it is he's a project. And certainly after watching his tape, I am of the belief that he's a project there. I do think that the way you can make him successful in the NFL is going to have to look a lot different than maybe people are. Well, I don't want to say maybe people are anticipating, but you're going to have to commit to something a bit out the box for it to work for him. I don't think just putting him in a drop bag, teaching him football, that's going to help, because he just seems to have a hard time processing 21 on the field, right? So that's the big issue with him, right? He just has a hard time seeing those 21 people on the field and himself. You get to 22 that way. But yeah, that's the big issue with him. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.